Hey, everybody, you're listening to the Track Limits podcast presented by Formula Addict. The British Grand Prix has just ended, and we are here in Crater Club in Toronto, running you all through the standings. Top 10, we had in 10th, Carlos Sainz. In 9th, we had Charles Leclerc. In 8th, we had Alex Albon. In 7th, we had Fernando Alonso. In 6th, we had Sergio Perez. In 5th, we had George Russell. And then narrowing down to the top 4. In 4th, you had Oscar Piastri. In 3rd, you had Lewis Hamilton. In 2nd, Lando Norris. And finally, in 1st, Max Verstappen. We had 3 DNFs, Ocon and Gasly, both Alpines out, with Magnussen out as well. And the fastest lap was Verstappen. So everyone here, firstly, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Great
race.
I'm doing fabulous.
Oh, yeah? Why?
1, it was an epic race. 2, I'm going to see Beyonce tonight.
Well, Feven, why don't we start with you? What were your thoughts about the race today?
Oh, this was such an entertaining race. I loved that. 1, I'm repping the McLaren orange because I had faith going into the race. Mind you, I didn't change after the race. I was repping. So I'm really excited to see just someone else. And unexpected. So with McLaren. And then, yeah, it was a lot of overtakes and a lot of close, like, actual toe-to-toe racing. It was I was on the edge of my seat. It was so much fun. I have more to say after, but yeah.
Aha.
Henny,
Okay.
you must have been happy again.
Yeah, it was a 50-50.
Oh,
I wasn't impressed with Checo again. We expected another dominant win and podium finish, and that didn't happen. But again, he still managed to go from P16 or P15 because of Bottas. And now he's P6 confirmed.
Yeah.
So we'll take points. I'd love seeing McLaren up there. They said they were going to be patient and bring upgrades, and in due time, on an anniversary like this, they were able to do a good finish with Lando. I'm happy for that.
And first time that 2 British drivers have finished on the podium this century.
Yeah,
I actually
this
looked
century,
it up.
oh my God.
I looked it up. 3 British drivers were on the podium at the 1968 U.S.
Whoa.
Grand Prix. The only time you ever had an all-British podium.
Wow.
Damn.
But Mikey, George Russell missed out on the podium. What were your thoughts, though, overall in the race?
I swear Checo has it in his contract that he gets a cash bonus for every overtake. Hence why he qualifies so bad, so he can get some
that's
overtakes.
a smart move, yeah.
But no, he did P6, which was good. McLaren, unbelievable. But like, let's move away from Lando. Okay, he's good, but Piastri, rookie year. So I read somewhere today, I think it was actually F1 Wow posted it, that said the last time McLaren signed a rookie and in their first year, the podium was 2007 with Lewis. So Piastri was amazing. Like, that was class.
Yeah.
And
And
also,
he
like,
didn't
how did
finish podium,
McLaren
though.
go from midfield? Like, when was the last time we seen an upgrade? And it
Yes.
boosted the
Drastic, yeah.
team that much? Like, McLaren or Mercedes brought upgrades, but not something that you're like fighting for podiums.
Yeah.
And they looked like they were comfortable as well.
And the way that Piastri and even Norris defended on the hard tire after the
Yes.
safety car restart was incredible when you
Wild,
consider that Lewis had the soft tire, George had a medium tire, and they couldn't catch him.
I mean, there's a hot take that's going around with Pirelli introducing these tire structures. Checo came out and said this caters to only specific teams, and the ones that performed well this track were the Mercedes engine cars. If you've
Bro,
noticed,
Checo is like scrambling to be like, I gotta say something to cover my
I
ass.
was under pressure. And
Yeah,
he's just-
100%.
I mean, remove his performance, but it just shows that all the Mercedes cars or engines supplied cars did really well this weekend with the new tire structures.
Not
and
Aston
this
Martin,
and
though.
this track specifically.
They still performed. They were up there.
Stroll was not.
I mean, Stroll is different. Stroll doesn't count part of this.
Alonso,
fair.
I mean, Alonso, I felt like, again, I said this kind of jokingly last race reflection where I was like, oh, Aston Martin's kind of like back where they belong, not in a rude or condescending way, but in that like they're kind of behind in the midfield, like behind the scenes. Oh, like they're not. I mean, Fernando was making moves at the beginning of the season, like actual moves to be in contention with and challenging the Red Bulls, and this they're back. Back to the
I
mid.
think they're back.
I think they're back.
No.
I don't know if they're back. I think it's still a step up.
Yeah.
It's a big
100%,
improvement.
But I just think they're giving more of an opportunity for Mercedes, for McLaren to, with their upgrades, to actually do way better than they were doing. And I think maybe they shot their shot at the beginning and they're
Yeah, they can also be taking a different approach to how they introduce their packages throughout the season.
True.
Where they can, like, imagine at the beginning of the season, that was their base model car.
Yes.
And
But
they have
brought
so
on
much.
upgrades since.
They have.
Bits and pieces.
Yeah,
Not like
but not
monumental.
major. Like,
Not as
yeah,
big
yeah.
as other teams have.
Yeah,
And they had a
exactly.
great base package to start with, so let's not
Exactly.
forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where they go.
I will say one thing too, and I think it was potentially Albon who mentioned this in like a post-conference interview that he did after FP2. He's like, the fact that we have so many teams now that we're talking about, like, it's their weekend. You know, like during the practice sessions, we talked about Williams. After this race, we're talking about McLaren.
Yeah.
A couple of races ago, we were talking about potentially Ferrari being back, Mercedes being back, Aston Martin. I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that almost every team, like, it's not even a midfield.
No.
It's like
No, yeah.
2 to 7. It's
Yeah.
kind of all in the range of
Yeah.
each other, which is kind of cool.
Even Toto came out and said from P2 to pretty much P10,
Yeah.
everyone was within 2/10 of each other on race pace. So
Yeah.
he's like, the regulations are working. Let's
Even
just
Nick de
remove
Vries.
Max.
Yeah. But even don't forget, this weekend was the first time Max was reachable. Because I know there was a safety car and all that, but still, he pulled an initial gap because he'd soft tires and Lando was behind in Harrods. But he pulled a gap of like 3.5 seconds. But Lando kept him modest to those 3.5 seconds. Like, he pulled him back. So, like, this weekend was the first weekend you're like, he can get him.
Yeah.
Like, so everyone's moving fast.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be Red Bull dominance. I know everyone's saying like it will be.
Yeah.
Sure, they have constructors, but it still could change week to week depending on the race.
They also have drivers.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much
Well,
locked
yeah, I
in.
mean,
Yeah.
but at this same time, now there's a lot more like actual room
Exactly.
for competitive racing.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
people are not actually. I mean, including myself, don't really care about who's P1 or like Max, whatever. Like you kind of. I'm assuming he's kind of run away with
Possibly,
it.
yeah.
But it's more entertaining to just actually watch who the rest of the podium would be and
Yep.
the midfield. Like that's where the racing.
Yeah,
is
my
at.
favorite Sky Sports reporter, Laura Winters, did mention that if you took Max out, this would be probably one of the best driver championships of all time.
Actually, yeah.
Look how
That's
close it
actually
was.
crazy when you think about it. I never even thought about it like that.
But what about the best moment, Henny? I'm curious. Your best moment in the race?
Best moment of the race. It would probably be the restart, the safety restart. I think there was an opportunity for Lando to take that first position. Or actually, no, I take it back. The start was really
Yes,
good. The
that's
start.
Oh.
Yeah, the start. I forgot about the start. That was epic.
Yeah.
To see Lando on the inside line just take it in, and he's like, I'll fight you, Max. Like, I'm not going to give you this position. And we've known that Lando has history in the first corners of hitting something or damaging his car, and he kept
Just
it clean.
unlucky.
Yeah, he kept it clean. And Piastri right behind him, about to take Max on the second corner. I'm like, okay.
For a
was it.
rookie, he was bold. Like he was right there as well, taking those
Yeah.
lines. Like,
I loved
was-
it.
We were all shouting
Yeah.
at TV. It was
bold,
good.
But then he kind of backed off a
little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. I think he
Yeah.
knew who he was up against, and I think that's where you see like the lack of experience in. Not that he. I guess the lack of experience. I'm going to stop there. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also worth noting, I mean, McLaren was playing it very safe. too,
Yeah.
They were.
Right? They wanted to
Maximize
bring
points.
both
Yeah.
cars
Points.
home,
Yeah.
No
get
accidents.
people as high as possible. I bet they were hoping for a 2-3. I think Zach
For
Brown
sure.
even after said that Oscar deserved the third,
Yeah.
which, to be fair, I would agree with that. I do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have mind, seeing Oscar up there as well, because being a rookie and having such a great qualifying and then a great race overall. I mean, I'm surprised he wasn't second in the driver of the day vote, if you will.
Yeah, he probably would
I think
have.
that
Yeah.
was an unlucky pit stop, or like that's what happened, right? Because like Mercedes had pitted, he had
yeah.
a free, or Hamilton had a free pit stop during the virtual.
No, the full stop.
Full
The
stop.
full
The
stop,
full
so the
virtual
stop,
car,
but
yeah.
and then that's where he gained the position when he came out.
Yeah.
When Piastri came out, he was in fourth.
Piastri had pitted like a couple of laps
I
ago.
know.
Yeah.
So like probably if Piastri hadn't pitted, he probably would have went in softs to match Lewis, and Lando went in the opposite of Max to try and catch him.
Yep.
But yeah, it was nail biting.
What about you, Feven? Your favorite moment from the weekend overall, even?
Actually, my favorite moment was similar to Henny. Seeing the McLaren sandwich at the beginning was just
Beautiful to see.
like I just didn't ever. And that was not on my bingo card. this
Yeah.
season.
At all.
It really was not. And then actually Albon fighting off and holding position in P8 and holding back. Okay, I am a Ferrari fan through and through. However, I was so disappointed. That was part of my disappointment was seeing them be in P9 and 10. I
Yep.
think that's where they were at. But Albon doing what he's doing, driving
Yep.
that bleep out of that car.
Yeah.
Oh my God, highlight. I continue to be impressed by him.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Like in the confidence, you can just see it. Like even yesterday when he was talking after qualifying, he's like, I think it's a good position to score points.
Yeah.
We will score points.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, oh, we'll try to defend wherever we can. Even when you had fast drivers behind him, he was like, I still feel confident about a top 10 finish.
Because he started P13.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Oh,
he
no,
started
no.
P8.
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 He was neutral.
Yeah, P8.
Yeah,
I
P8.
think he P13.
Sergeant, maybe?
Yeah.
Sergeant
Yeah.
14th, yeah.
Yeah.
And he maintained position.
But it was incredible because, you know, again, he had fast drivers behind him, right?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have
yeah.
a couple of people behind you that are kind of out of
Sainz,
position.
100%.
And he still was able to keep up his position. He was able to overtake
Yeah.
Sainz and then defend as well from the Ferraris behind. I mean, it was incredible.
He is just
Confidence though.
Yes.
He's got the confidence now. And like that's why you got to give Piastri credit because he's still a rookie, but he's so much confidence. Like he's so confident. But to comment on your point there, like Albon was going toe to toe with Sainz.
yeah.
Sainz got distracted. Albon passed him. Gasly passed him. That was my highlight.
Yep.
Because I think Sainz got slightly offline, and then the three other drivers, it was Albon, Gasly, and who else was it? They pounced on him, and it was amazing. That was to me that was the best moment.
Best
And I really like Sainz as a driver, but he was caught lacking in that one area,
Yep.
and they just blitzed past him. I think it was on lap 34 or something like that. But it was great to watch.
And what about your biggest letdown, Mikey? What did you feel like?
Let down.
The disappointment in the race, something you were hoping would have worked out better?
Not that I was let down, but I think I was looking at Aston Martin because Alonso came out 2 races ago and said, we're not here to like be second or third. We want to be top step, which is a good statement to make. And then
You got to back it up.
you got to back it up. So again, you look at that and be like, McLaren brought upgrades, Mercedes brought upgrades. They're all pushing forward. Aston Martin, maybe now that's what they're lacking that performance. But a letdown straight away, Ferrari. You can't lose 5 positions on the grid. Both drivers lost 5 positions on the grid in a Ferrari. And Albon in a Williams is outdriving that Williams, and he's smoking signs.
Would you agree with that, Henny?
Yeah, I think so. When the virtual safety came out, there was an instance where Magnussen's car was nowhere to be removed. You knew that a safety car was coming out.
Correct.
Why rush to go and pit when you could have waited just like Max did, Lando did, Hamilton did, which secured him that podium.
Yep.
It all comes down to strategy because we all know they had pace today too. It wasn't their pace that was lacking. It was their strategies that they made. Even with Charles pitting so early to go on the hards for the whole race, stuff like that, where you had data from Friday and still didn't even use the data. That's where the disappointment came from Ferrari for me.
I still think there's something in that garage that I think it's small issues that build up to a bigger picture. Because even both drivers, Sainz had overtaken Leclerc in the qualifying lap. And Leclerc was quite verbal, like he was annoyed about that. When they went to go to plan C, Carlos Sainz was like, I've forgotten what plan C was. So like, if you add up every little small issue,
adds up,
it brings up to a bigger issue. Like those 2 drivers aren't in unison. The team mightn't be in unison. And that can affect, because as you said, they have the car.
Yeah.
But it's not shown in the results. Which it is crunch time. They got to figure those little issues out and work together as a team.
Feven, Mikey's talking ill about your team. What do you
I
think?
really,
Hey, you're McLaren now. Whoa, what's going on here?
She's converted.
No, I'm really disappointed for Ferrari, and so I'm speechless. I think there's a lot of strategic, like strategy wise, like from a pit stop perspective. I'm like, wait. I remember looking at Henny being like, wait, they know it's not going to be a virtual safety. Like you just know the car is stopped. It's on fire. It's gonna be a full stop, you know. On top of that, I think I'm disappointed for Alfa Romeo. I know they're the back of the midfield, but at the end, I'm still rooting for the. I love that comeback story, so I was hoping to see some movement
Action.
there.
Well, and I mean, Bottas qualified well getting
I
into
know.
Q2 finally, and then the
I
car just
know.
stops working, and you have to start to think like, what are you guys doing?
Exactly.
Like, especially when the start of the season, you were looking at Joe and Bottas, and both of them like, yeah, Q2 was a usual expectation for an Alfa Romeo, and now it's like, oh, they might even be at the same level as AlphaTauri when it comes to expectations.
Yeah.
And I think that perception, like for me, my perception is changing, or like my sentiments towards Alfa Romeo is changing, and it's like. I didn't expect that this season. Going into the season, I didn't expect this kind of performance.
Yep.
So that was disappointing. And of course, Checo. I just, like from a qualifying perspective, I loved the quali. I was so entertaining. The margin, the difference was so insanely close. And so for him to not have qualified, or again, to have not qualified through to Q2 for the 5th.
I think it was 6th.
or like,
Yeah.
too many.
Yeah,
I think
I think
it's
it's fifth time in a row and
Sorry,
sixth time
yeah,
overall.
yeah,
okay.
Fifth time in a row, though. That's just got to be getting to him. And
That wasn't
I
his
know
fault though.
This one, out of all of
It
them,
wasn't his
we're
I will
not.
agree with that one.
Yeah,
It's not
it
his
wasn't.
fault,
Yeah.
but it's still hard to see him start P15 and
Of
have
course.
to climb back.
Back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, if he had started P6, maybe he was on podium, but he started at the back.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, I think it was Mark Webber who made a bold statement today. He's like, anyone can do that. He's like, Checo's performance is not impressive. He's like, even I can jump in that car right now and go through that. I was like, wow, okay, Mark Webber.
Speak
might
your
have to
mind,
agree.
Mark.
All right.
Yeah.
Mark Webber is a bit salty sometimes.
he is.
You can see that.
Oh, yeah.
But
What was your biggest letdown?
I mean, again, it's a hot take, but I do think Mercedes, honestly, and I really, I was telling Henny after, I mean, I agree, like race pace looked good on Friday. So fair enough. You know, today wasn't like, out of the, like normal and kind of out of expectation whatsoever. But I feel like a lot of what they did when it comes to being in P3 wasn't even them. It was like a mishap on other teams and then them getting their strategy right compared to other teams like Ferrari. Like if Ferrari had nailed the strategy, you would have seen Lewis in like P5 or P6.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think the upgrades were promised to be a lot bigger than they actually were. And then when we got to the race weekend, they were like, oh, it's just a front wing. Don't worry about it. But like Toto came out 3-4 weeks ago and was like, well, this upgrade and the upgrade in Belgium will hopefully have us compete with the Red Bull. And at this point, I don't even know if they're competing with their own teams that they're providing engines to, which is a little bit weird.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to give them a few time. I think, imagine, they're technically a year and a half behind
Correct.
to other teams. Well, they had to completely change their philosophy and the whole car aspect.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I think Toto's trying to give the whole impression and encourage fans to have hope in Mercedes, which is fine. But I think people need to be patient with Mercedes. They will be back.
And
Like,
people
it's-
aren't going to be patient.
I know.
they're not.
No,
Well,
they're not.
It's been
No,
also
I think
2
it
years.
is.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years. You want to see a Mercedes
Something, yeah.
back up there winning.
Yeah.
Usually you'd see that, 2014, 20, all the way to 2021. We saw that usually.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been, one win in the last 2 years for them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, George
Yeah,
Russell. I forgot
Brazil.
about that
That
one.
was
Brazil.
it.
Brazil.
Yeah. That was
And he had an oil leak in the car as well. Like he barely made it over the line.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Swish, I have like strategy is so much part of the sport as much as the drivers driving
I agree.
their car.
Yeah.
So like when a strategy goes well,
Yep.
it's not, you can get lucky where your strategy turns out to be the right strategy. But in today's like case, I totally think just like Lewis deserved to be P3 and drove the shit out of that car.
Yep.
And yeah, he got lucky in terms of like the which
Positioning,
stage that he went and pitted
Yep.
because of the safety car. But that's strategy. And I think that we need to remember this sport is so much more about the strategy. It is about the drivers and driving the car, but it is a lot to do with strategy. And this is where I think
Definitely.
the sport is so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Definitely, I agree.
Yeah.
Outside of the race, though, we had a couple of things happening. We had Brad Pitt shooting his movie,
Yes.
right? Apex is coming out, and you had Apex GP there. Probably would have actually finished the race if they had competed, but it was pretty cool to see. Even today, while the drivers were all on the grid, they had Brad Pitt and his co-actor come and walk by the grid.
Oh, they did.
You know,
Oh,
and
that's
then
dope.
they had obviously a couple of days where they were shooting. I'm really curious. Like F1 seems to be in the spotlight right now. You have Paramount TV doing a TV show now. You got Drive to Survive. You have all of these cool commercial projects. Like, where do we think F1 can become? Like, is it going to become this truly global sport that's watched by millions upon millions of people? Is it going to continue to grow, or do we feel like it's going to reach a kind of a tipping point at some point?
I feel like it's weird because like they're in the spotlight, but like it can go just as bad. They can like, and I feel like that's why there's so much emphasis around the sprint series, because if you dilute the sport, you'll lose the fans in a certain way.
Yep.
Because like you'll miss a race or two and you're like, oh, I don't care. There's 30 races or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas before, like even with the sprint race, you got to watch the Saturday, and sometimes it's hard. Like I used to love the qualifying, and last weekend I even missed the sprint because there's your life, you're just stuff going on. So I feel like they're in a lot of pressure to make sure they continue the heritage of F1 and not try and dilute it. But yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes because all eyes are on F1 right now, which is cool. It's great to be a fan of the sport right now.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
100%. I think it's going to be so much more commercialized. I think it's going to be insanely bigger in the North American audience. I think this is just going to be another area or medium in which like not just Drive to Survive will be covering this, but people will be getting into the sport because they watched another movie or because they saw the Gran Turismo movie that's coming. Like, you know, there's so many other areas of racing also, not just F1 that I think will benefit from this. So if anything, I know F1 has been around for ages and popular in European and other markets, but in North America, I think we're at the beginning.
Nice.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And I think I would love to see something where it's like the calendar revolves and it's not the same races every year. So like 24 is a lot.
Yeah.
Anywhere between 18 to 20 races, and having it revolve where like there's a whole continent other than Brazil that is untapped right there.
Yeah.
Revolving it with Brazil, Argentina, a different country and then there's Africa. South Africa, bring that back.
We're all
There's
the
so many.
Africans.
That's what I'm saying. There is going to be a peak in other markets for sure, and I think we have peaked in Europe and it's already stabilized there. America, I agree with you, but there's so many other places they can tap into that they can still continue to grow.
Yeah.
And that's what they have to look at, and just finding a way. I know this new calendar, they have improved it in a way that kind of flows a bit more.
Yeah, for
in terms of travel and logistics. But even then, I saw a tweet saying, wait, so we have to go back to Australia 1 week, go back home, wait 2 weeks, and then come back this way. So they still have to fix those kind of things, but I think they're going in the right direction.
And Brad Pitt's whole involvement also brought up this other discussion, especially around the team principal press conference around the 11th team in F1. And, you know, Toto Wolff came out and was like, well, yeah, we have space for an 11th garage here in Silverstone, but actually most tracks, we don't have space for that.
You got to build it out.
You know, there was also a problem brought up around qualifying. There's a lot of issues around impeding, which can only get worse with that 11 team. Do you guys think by 2025, by 2026, we are going to see an 11 team on the grid?
I think given the commercial like interest, I like from a business perspective, I could see that being a reason to have an 11th. I mean, there used to be more teams, then why not?
Correct.
I just think the more popular this becomes, the more businesses and advertisers and sponsors want to get in, and car manufacturers, engine manufacturers. So I can just see the interest growing, and it's like I guess ride the wave while it's
hot. While it's waving.
But also to comment on Toto's comment, like, okay, add 2 more teams.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's more drivers on the grid. So split up the qualifying. 8 drivers go out, 8 drivers go out. However you want to do it. You don't have to have 20 drivers out for Q1. You can split the amount of drivers on the field. Sure, qualifying extends by X amount. Lose a practice. Bring that practice time to the qualifying, so you send out only 10 drivers on the grid.
Then how would you manage the advantage? So imagine a brand new track.
Evolution on a rainy weekend.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
See, I never thought about that.
There you go.
Okay.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. That's why it hasn't happened, because there's a reason it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for calling me out there. Pal.
No. It's a good conversation, and that's what's happening now.
There were more teams on the grid.
2016, there was 11.
11, right?
Yeah.
So, but the cars were much smaller.
Much smaller.
But still.
If you think, the thing is, like, if you think of like Austria, that's the smallest amount of turns on a track. It's insane. Like, there's cars everywhere.
we saw the chaos
Then you've
last
got,
week.
Let's imagine like the Hungarian Grand Prix next weekend or the following weekend. Like, that's going to be very tough for qualifying as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a small track.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
but it'd be great to have an extra team.
That's
on
why
the
I don't see it happening in 2026. I see there's going to be more engine suppliers, like you said. I think that will happen. But probably 2030, when the next regulation happen, they probably will announce in 2026 we want to add an 11 team by 2030, so that every other track, the whole industry has to build the infrastructure for that to happen. So I don't think 2 years is enough from now until in 2026 to bring a team.
Keep in mind, most of the principals, I think Fred and Toto said that the new team that comes in has to quote unquote provide value.
Yeah.
But no one's really gone into like a specific detail around what is that?
Yeah.
What do you mean by
Yeah,
provide
Definitely
value?
right? Yeah.
Money. A whole load of money.
You know what it is? Because they don't want to dilute. Let's say
It's
if
a
you,
prize pool.
but yeah, the prize pool. Let's just say it's $1 million prize pool. It's way more than that. But like, let's say you add another team now, that gets diluted again. But actually, just thinking about it, to answer your comment, if you did have to split the qualifying, each team could have to select a driver from their team to represent in the first section of qualifying. So that an extra layer of strategy to it.
Yeah, that would add more strategy.
So you're worried about track evolution on a rainy day? Okay, guys, we have to put our first driver forward.
Yeah.
the second driver goes in the second part of
So you have a
qualifying.
starter
You
lineup.
could add more teams. Like you could add more teams.
All right.
Yeah, just not fast enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only problem.
Next race is the Hungaroring. This is a fan favorite. People love going to Hungary to watch this race. A lot of corners, mainly slow to medium corners, though, not too many straights. So we might not see Williams do, for example, as well.
Yeah.
But last year, Max won. Lewis and Russell were on the podium. What do we think, Henny, might happen this year? And what are you looking forward to for Hungary?
It's going to be. This is probably the second race outside of Monaco that will have the least overtakes. So qualifying matters again. So I think every team will have to bring a car that can qualify really well. And I think Aston Martin and Mercedes will probably be the dominant cars again, and on at least on this track with the slow corners, in some medium corners. So I do anticipate those two will come back. Red Bull, even in this track, Silverstone, they were the best in the slow corners. So I think they will dominate this, depending on where Checo ends up on qualifying. If that's a different topic. But if he performs well and qualifies high, then I can see another 1-2 finish for them.
If I told you to put all your money right now into betting whether he makes it a Q3 or not,
He will.
He will.
He will.
All right.
He will. I will
your
put that
money.
down. Oh,
All
he'll
right,
he'll
let's go. You heard
he'll
it
do
here.
it.
Okay.
He'll do it.
What do you think about Hungary?
Yeah, very slow, tight corners. I don't know. I'm rooting for obviously for Ferrari to get their shit together. Sorry for cursing. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a Red Bull dominance.
Okay.
Just curious to see how McLaren do. They brought all the upgrades. Lando did so well in Austria because he got the upgrades. Piastri did the upgrades this weekend. They did well. McLaren are known for having a lot of downforce. They fixed the aero, let's just say. So McLaren could be the surprise next weekend. I also feel like Austin, I would expect Austin or Alonso at least be fighting for podium because they are good on an exit of those slow speed corners and they can bring an extra bit of downforce. So I would say look out for McLaren and Austin. I don't think McLaren was a fluke this weekend.
Yeah.
They are good in the long straights. We always knew that. But I think Austin, and let's hope McLaren can bring it. If McLaren can bring it again next weekend on a completely different circuit, that changes the entire game for the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, because their biggest issue, even before these upgrades, were their drag. They cannot perform on straight tracks, and now they have a track like this that caters to that car, regardless of the upgrade. So I think they will perform well. It's just we got to see Friday their pace.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
Where do we think Ferrari will be next week for that track?
I personally agree with Henny. You know, I think Red Bull, Mercedes, and Aston Martin, maybe McLaren, kind of are the top 3-4. I think Ferrari's fighting for 4th or 5th coming into
It's gonna
that
be a
weekend.
mix. It's gonna be a mix.
Who'd have thought we'd be saying that
I
after
know.
last year's performance?
Yeah.
Who'd have thought we'd been saying that?
I
My
know.
heart aches.
Tough time to be a
season.
Ferrari fan.
It really is. That's been. It has been a
Yeah.
few years.
Well,
Like,
looking out then, overall, just to end things off here, I mean, the driver standings, constructor standings, anything we're interested in pointing out here? I mean, nothing's really changed.
No, Alpine.
I know.
Yeah.
What in the world?
2 DNFs.
You're supposed to be competing with McLaren, and they've whooped you.
Hey, Gasly's driving well. Ocon had unfortunate incident. I still don't know what happened to that car. Gasly was driving. Was it hydraulic?
Yep.
The way Stroll just trying to drive into the side of Gasly was because Gasly was on a flyer. He was on a soft tire. Everyone else he's competing was hard medium. Gasly was on a flyer. I felt really bad for Gasly this weekend.
Yeah.
And he's outperforming Ocon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's definitely going to be tension inside that garage.
I mean, Mercedes and Aston Martin are still close in the constructor.
They are.
I think they're one is 203 to 181.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Mercedes 203.
Oh, that is close.
So close. So I do think that like both, that's an exciting match to watch. I'm rooting obviously for Mercedes.
Yeah.
But I'm also like interested to see how Fernando pushes.
That's right. If Stroll doesn't pick up his pace, then
that's
not gonna
the
happen.
sad
that's
part,
not going to happen.
Yeah,
They're
that's
more likely going to fight with McLaren because now McLaren has to catch up on points.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be the battle there.
McLaren is well far away.
Yeah.
McLaren has 59 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the closest to them is Ferrari at 157, which is
Okay, so it's going to be a
about
three-way
100.
fight.
So this weekend, if they maintain this for the rest of the season,
Then we're gonna see
no
something.
mistakes, nothing, and they are like top 5 or at least top 8, then we might have an actual chance for them to be in contention.
Brilliant. Well, Max is still ahead on the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship.
He's his own team, bro.
Yeah.
and he's doing
must be
really
getting
good.
bored.
I mean, honestly, maybe. But I really appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts here. Guys, we have the Hungary Grand Prix coming up, but we also have a really cool guest that we're announcing in a few days. So check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Feel free to give us a follow, like, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode.